following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
The Nostalgia Funhouse proudly dedicates all episodes in the loving memory of Connie Chirac.
Now the power of the Force from Kenner brings you more big Star Wars detail and more big movie size than ever before. As a rebel pilot, climb aboard your sleek A-Wing fighter and blaze into battle against Darth Vader and his terrifying TIE fighter.
Fire!
Now dogfight in space with Emperor Palpatine looking on. On Hoth, you fight alongside Hoth rebel soldiers against attacking snowtroopers and their laser cannons. Nobody does Star Wars like the power of the Force. A-Wing comes with pilot, other figures and vehicles each sold separately from Kenner.
Where's Johnny? He's sick. Called us and said, hey guys, I'm not feeling good. I'm only at 60%.
Wait, he called you? He only texted me.
Oh, well, he texted me. Nobody calls anybody anymore.
What do you think we are? You think we got time for days? Calling people? On the phone even?
I can't even.
I like how the phone's primary function is probably the least thing it's used for nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody calls anymore. They actually teach, did you know they teach college courses to help these people get over their phobias about like public interactions with one another?
Come on.
No, I swear to God, it's a college course. You could pay for it. You have to pay for it. And like some of the assignments are like call a restaurant and make a reservation, call a retail store to check if an item is in stock. Because they say there's a generation of human beings that they get anxious when the phone rings. They get anxious when the doorbell rings.
That was like the best time in the world.
I know. I love meeting new people, finding some strange, getting into new conversations, absorbing the zeitgeist of the world.
I know my wife can't order pizza, but yet she's a
Yeah, my wife's the same way. Can you order? The pizza lady has a thing for me, so it's awkward every time.
Oh, see, you're still good though. You got the mom and pops.
Yeah, but I don't know what she's putting in my pizza. I saw Midsommar.
Love.
I don't know if you did.
Love.
Maybe she's putting some kind of voodoo hex on me where she's putting a little extra in there.
Maybe
a little love potion number 9. Who knows?
Maybe.
But yeah, Johnny's out. We wish him love. We hope he gets better. Maybe he needs some love potion number 9 and he'll perk right up.
I'm upset I had the fun game today and
yeah, we'll have to delay it. Now we got to talk about other stuff.
You know what's good though about Johnny being sick though?
What's
I'm not
that?
even gonna lie. I'm gonna bring this up. Is it delays the Muse episode?
Oh, I'm dreading that. When is that? I might be sick for that one. I feel like I'm gonna get sick right around the time that we got to talk about Muse. How mad would you be if I just no call on that one? I wouldn't do that to you. That'd be so cruel.
There would just be Johnny being overexcited and then doing what you, Matt, and Johnny do to me.
Yeah.
When it comes to Masters of the Universe and just crapping all over it.
Yeah.
Just gonna be like,
I think that might be the only episode where you and I unite against our common foe of Johnny. Well, it's usually just Johnny and I.
Well, no.
Ganging up on you.
Homeward Bound. We went pretty.
Oh, yeah, we did rip a pretty good about Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound
that's not bad. I mean, I didn't hate it as much as you did. I found that Persian cat to be a delight. Sally Fields is a treasure. Although I'm still mad at her for leaving Robin Williams. I don't care what he dressed up as. She's transphobic.
I literally, if I never see Homeward Bound again,
Too soon?
Yeah. Would be 100% happy.
Yeah.
The movie is just, that's a movie better left in the past with childhood memories. That's all it is to me.
Well, funny you bring up childhood memories.
Yes.
That's what we're going to talk about today is our collections of toys, mainly toys, maybe comics, maybe movies.
We don't do drugs. We just buy toys.
Oh, I used to. It's funny. When I wasn't collecting toys, I did a lot of drugs, and now I don't do drugs and I collect a lot of toys. I wonder if there's a relevancy there.
Maybe
kind of a trade-off, huh?
Yeah, because they always say when you have one addiction, you just replace it with another.
That's true, and I do have a toy addiction, but I'm scared now. because you and I were talking before we started recording. You're in the process of buying stuff from eBay.
Yes,
I'm in
thank
the
God
process
my
of
wife does not
selling
listen to the
things from
podcast.
eBay. And I'm oh sorry if I blew up your spot. But
No.
but if I'm selling things on eBay, what am I going to spend that money on? I hope it's not drugs again. Maybe it will be, who
Well,
knows?
you have kids right there goes all that.
That's true. Because then if they ingest it, I get in a lot of trouble. Because I'd hit them for taking my drugs.
Yeah, don't take drugs, kids.
Yeah, drugs are bad. Okay.
Johnny and I already reviewed that one, the
Yeah,
Saturday
yeah.
Morning All Star. Don't do
That's
drugs.
a great episode. But that's the what my childhood collection
Yeah, what did you?
just for playtime was obviously Ninja Turtles.
Is
That
that
wasn't
your?
really collecting for the sake of collecting. That was just I want all the toys just to play with.
Is that what your main one was?
Oh
Ninja
yeah,
Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. I was like my parents weren't huge into like okay we're going here we're getting this like they teased me all the time with going to toy stores. But when I was little, like I had to really zone in on one. Would I have loved Captain Planet toys? Oh yeah. Would I have loved to have X-Men? Oh yeah. And I dabble occasionally. I'd get like a Marvel figure here or there, like a DC figure here or there. But Turtles was my mainstay for sure.
We're through the phases. So, Turtles was like I said before. Turtles was my first official one of my own.
Okay.
Like my brother, I think he maybe had a Donatello, but then after a while, he was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not
So
playing.
so what was like I know for me
My
the
first, actually, you know what? My first one that I can remember saying this was my own, and my brother didn't share him with me. That's a lie. Now that I think about it, Silverhawks and Thundercats.
okay.
I don't think my brother had a Silverhawk or a Thundercat,
All right.
but
Now those are before my time. So like Turtles was
yeah,
the first toy line I played with that I consider I collected, but just for play. And then I would say the last toy line that I collected for the use of play was the Jack's Pacific bone crunching action wrestling figures.
see, I was out after LJN.
Yeah.
That was the
That would like bone crunchers are my LJN. Like they suck. I know they suck, but I had so many of them and I played with them and that was my transition from collecting to play and then collecting to collect.
my first. Okay, so my last one that I probably collected to play anything Marvel Toy Biz.
Okay.
I had
That was awesome because like
I had tons of those
they
because
were all in the
the
same
comic book.
scale and you had everybody. You had all the zany X-Men, all the crazy Fantastic Four.
What
Like
was
I remember wanting to collect all those like because they all fit the same size, right?
yeah?
And then I didn't have the means at the time. I was too young and like I said, my parents are like you can only really get one toy line. So then I remember like when Marvel Legends hit, that was like a game changer as far as collecting to collect.
I had a couple of those, but I did.
Those I had like that whole all the whole Toy Biz line of Marvel Legends. I had them all of them, every single one, all the Build-A-Figures, all I'd get the box set that had like six characters that I already had just to get the one that I didn't have. Um, I have subsequently sold all of those. I sold those to help fund my wedding.
So,
Um,
uh,
but I do I it's one of those things like
do you miss it though? Do you miss? Is there maybe a couple maybe you want back? But do you
okay,
really
like
miss?
honestly, there's been very few times that I've bought something, sold it, and then bought it again. A lot of it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like, yeah, these are cool, but like once I've once I've said, hey, I don't really want I'm getting rid of this because I don't think I need it. And once it's gone, I'm like, all right, I'm cool.
I don't think I've ever really because I just recently started as my kids got older and my job's gotten better, where I actually collect to collect.
Yeah.
I think that's my thing there. Probably to start it off with the adult collecting was Nintendo games.
Okay.
And then I realized how expensive those were. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing this.
Like with
But
Nintendo games too, I mean, they were freaking fickle back in the 80s and 90s. Like you get a 20-year-old copy of something, what's like the reality that it's gonna even work?
actually very high.
Really? Okay.
I got a couple of games where it's one of those things where as long as you take care of them and you clean it and do everything like that, they're still gonna work.
Now, is it hard to find like a console that works well?
No.
No? All right.
What it depends if you want the original stuff. I use what is it? Some classic HQ thing that plays Nintendo and Super Nintendo games.
Okay, I gotcha.
So you just pop it in that. I don't think I've ever really had a problem with no, there was my WrestleMania one, or whatever which one that was, the second WWF game. That's gotten weird, but other than that,
Okay.
all my other stuff has worked. The only thing you got to watch out for is the batteries in them for the
Okay.
memories and
All
that
right.
the memory. But my first toy line, I gotta say that I collected to collect, where it wasn't to play, and I was like, I'm not taking these out of the packages, as we talked about before. Is starting lineups was my first one. That
I had a few of those. Now, were you all sports or did you hone in on one specific sport?
all I
Okay,
most things that
I was strictly just football, and I think that was more just like a bonding experience for my dad and I because football was our thing. So that
okay.
was like kind of a mixing. Like he knew I liked figures, I knew he liked football. I did like
Oh,
football too, but that was like the we'd go out and it was the time they were starting to make like old
oh, the
the
class.
vintage like the classic people. Like I remember him being psyched that they made like a Len Dawson action figure, and I figured who'd he come with? I think he came with I think it was like no, it
Was
was a
it?
2 pack. It was Len
Yeah,
Dawson and Bart Starr. It was a 2 pack, and he was like blown away that they made a Bart Starr figure and Len Dawson.
yeah. Because for Father's Day, I got my dad. He's big Lakers. It was Kareem and Wilt, I want to say.
Nice. Yeah,
So
I just bought my dad a Dick Butkus.
did you?
Yeah, 'cause he loved it. We went to a card show,
Okay, good
and
thing.
Dick Butkus was there signing autographs, and my dad just like this shows you this kind of like where my dad's mind is as far as collectibles. So we went to this card show because Dick Butkus was there, and I think you had to pay $5 for an autograph, and my dad
That's not
balked. He's like,
bad.
"No, we're not doing that." But this was the
Really?
90s. This was like the 90s. He's like, "I ain't
Oh,
doing
okay.
that." This
Wow.
was like the heat of the sports cards,
Where it was
like yeah, where it was everywhere.
like these guys can make crazy cash by just making you sign stuff.
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
but
the starting lineups were really bad. Like I was telling you guys in the group chat time that Toys R Us, for some reason, they were buying used video games, but they want to give you like cash. They give you
yeah.
the Jeffrey dollars. That's
Yep.
how far it is.
I completely spaced on those. I forgot all about the Jeffrey dollars.
And then it got to the point where we would turn them around. I'm gonna go to good old primetime sports cards. Not that Omega Matt. Nobody went to Omega. Guy was a weirdo playing Pokemon cards with kids. Bob Noble never did that. He just said that he wanted to have sex with my friend's mom on a daily basis. Uh, but yeah, so we go to see good old Bob, and Bob would be like, "Okay, here you go. I'll take these on par." And then all of a sudden, one day, we see his son walk in, and he's got a Nintendo 64. And this is like when the Nintendo 64 first came out. And we're like, wow, kid's got a Nintendo 64. He was like, yeah, you guys paid for that with all those damn Jeffrey dollars you gave me. With how much lineups we bought. We bought so many off of them. I mean, it was bad with the lineups where I would get like a $6 Patrick Ewing and it would just be nothing. But
Yeah.
that was a collect for value and who I like too, because
Yeah, I
used
remember he had that big
to,
case of all the loose ones, and they were in those like acrylic
yeah.
cases. Yeah. I think I bought a couple of Warren Moons from him from like the late 80s. Oilers Warren Moons, because yeah, that was my guy. Um, I know how to pick them, I tell you. These childhood heroes. Warren Moon, Carl Malone, Chris Benoit. I really know I could pick
Oh,
them. Bill Cosby. I know how to pick the winners,
I'm right
folks.
up there with you. Junkyard
Man,
Dog, Jose Canseco.
at least they just used drugs. They didn't kill or beat women.
I think Jose Canseco beat somebody.
All right. Sounds about right.
Who else is a loser that I liked? Well, Marino had a child, cheated on his wife, a child
Yeah,
with some like
as you
protectionism,
do, as you do.
as you do in the
Yeah,
NFL.
you know.
But yeah, starting lineups were really bad. And now my collecting goes to mainly the good old Motu Origins, couple of little vintage in there. I was
So
good.
like I'm at the point now where I really don't get any vintage stuff. Like the vintage stuff I have, um, I'm content with. Like I when Whatnot first popped out, I went down a rabbit hole there where I was getting a lot of vintage turtle stuff, and I'm like, I gotta delete this thing because it was becoming a problem. And then like I have the sewer lair and the Technodrome, and I have like all the not all the characters I want, but like quite a few of them. Like what I love,
It's a terrible toy line.
Dr. L, which is like the elephant guy, sure, but to find him in good condition, you're gonna pay like $100. The
See,
market's
that's
skyrocketed. Like I have my Toxic Crusaders, I'm cool with that.
how were
Um,
were those reasonably priced?
when I got them, they were. Yeah, now
Okay.
they've shot up quite a bit. But like that's the other thing that pisses me off with these vintage is like all the repros that are out there. Like you were talking about Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
I think it's taken a lot of um the need or want for like true vintage stuff away because like they're repurposing the turtles, which I'm buying them on
Yeah.
card because like I'm not gonna open them. They're on the card. They're in the original packaging. I'm like I've always wanted that, but I'm clearly never gonna be able to afford
The
a vintage 8-back Bebop in good condition. So I'll just get the repro and then I'll put that up. Um,
my mom did, but that was back in
yeah, that was back in 88, 89.
yeah.
You know? Um, but I find that what I'm buying a lot now is like stuff that is still nostalgic, but it's new. Like the NECA Turtle stuff is just for me, it's like what I've always wanted. I never thought they'd do is cartoon accurate.
Yeah, it's
They're
very
super articulated. They come with tons of accessories that are like just like deep, deep cut references. Like NECA is like they're not a perfect company. Like I have so many figures that I've bought from NECA, take them out of the box and I go to move them and they break like instantly because the
and
joints are
there's
so
a
stiff.
oh
Um,
yeah, those
and I know people are like, well, you gotta warm them up with a hand dryer. I'm like, what?
wait, what wait,
I'm not doing that.
they want you to bring out like a hair dryer and be like,
Yeah, like a lot of collectors will do that when they get a new NECA figure. They'll take a hand dryer out and they'll warm it up before they start moving the joints because the joints are so stiff. You go to move them and they just snap off. Like the ball joint peg snaps right off. So I have so many that are like super glued back together. And it's always that like, sometimes you super glue and it's like, is it gonna stick? I think it's
yeah,
sticking. And then oh, nope, that was too soon. Is it gonna stick? Oh no, now there's too much glue residue. It's not gonna get together. These are first world problems of collectors, folks. But
I don't-
um
he- I
like I love NECA as a company just because all the stuff they're making is it's great quality for the price you pay, like $35 is I would say the average price of their figure.
that's not too bad.
And I mean, like I love the dinosaurs figures they made. I just picked up, which I was stoked to find, but I was a little pissed. I just picked up the Ultimate Ernie from Sesame Street. They
Okay.
made Bert and Ernie, but they only had Ernies. They had two Ernies, no Berts.
See,
So
I
now I'm
can't.
hunting for Bert. But he comes with his rubber ducky. Like you get changeable hands that totally you get alternate heads with facial expressions. Um, the turtle movie line, like that's the line that I wanted as a kid. That yeah, they made like those rubbery figures for Secret of the Ooze,
I hated
but
those.
they only made the four turtles.
And
So that line's awesome because you
they
get
didn't make a Tokar and Razor for
they
those?
did, yeah. Sorry, they made Toka Razor. They did make a Splinter. They made Super Shredder, but like I mean, they've made everybody. They have all four turtles. You can get them from all three movies because there are slight variations in the costumes, big variations in the third movie. But like, they made a Judith Hogue April. They made a Casey Jones of what's his name, Ethan whatever.
I don't even know.
Yeah. Um, but the Splinter's awesome. The Shredders are great. The Toka and Razar are like probably some of my favorite figures of all time. Like they made it where you can adjust Razar's or Toka's eyebrows to change his facial expression. Like the articulations on him is crazy. Not that I'm sitting here playing with them, but now I find like I feel like the way I play with toys now, in quotation marks, is like the posing of them,
Yeah,
the displaying of them. Like that's how you play with them now, you
yeah.
know?
When my Jake the Snake comes in,
Well, you gotta
I'm, go-
pull that arm back.
I'm,
He's gotta
I'm,
lay some
I'm
friggin'
going
fist
to.
punches.
No, I'm gonna take the good old Pat Johnson referee figure and
Oh yeah, you did say that. That's
have
gonna be
him
great.
smack him because of what Jake the Snake did.
Yeah.
You know, the great uncle is going to take.
Finally, revenge for
I
his
was
nephew.
thinking about that when I bought that Jake the Snake, as I was going to ask you, Matt, every wrestler that was a dick to you guys, and those were going to be the ones that I was going to collect. Just
All
so,
right.
like, if
You'll have
somebody
to get
comes,
Honky Tonk Man.
I
You'll have
almost,
to get Brutus Beefcake. Um,
I know I would have to get Dusty
I'd say
Rhodes
you have
for
to get
that.
Colt Cabana, but I don't want you to put any money in that asshole's pocket.
See,
Um,
so is CM Punk right about him?
he was an asshole to me. Like I met him twice, and he was an asshole both times. I did a training seminar with him, and I wrestled him. He was a dick both times.
Why is he such a dick when he's not even like that?
That's probably why he's a dick.
Like, I really like Brian Myers, but I have a feeling he's a dick. But I think he's a dick because now this is my theory. Because
I mean, there's
he's
justifiable reasons for these
he,
guys to be dicks.
I
Like
think
if
he's a
like if I
very
were to go up to
close.
Honky Tonk Man, I'm like, hey, all right, so what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna leg sweep you. I'm gonna put you in a Boston Crab. Like no, like but when you just go, hey, how's it going? We're working tonight, and they're already like, ugh, like
Oh,
like fuck yourself.
see, my thing with Brian Myers is
That's my one. Woo.
I think he's a dick for. I think he's a very close knit person to where his friends are. Like, I think he enjoys people outside, but he doesn't want anything more going on right now.
Which is fine.
Which is
Yeah,
that's how I view him. Which
yeah.
is I don't want to because I really like you, Brian Myers. You are the voice of reason on
Had,
that,
yeah, he
on that
sure is.
podcast where you're like, I'm not buying that. I'm not investing my time into that. I'm not doing this. And
It's
that's
actually kind of flipped recently. Like I've been watching him for a while, and now it's like Cardona's kind of the one that is pulling back.
oh, because he's building a house.
Well, that plus he's realizing how much stuff he actually has and how much stuff he's not going to be able to display. That's where I'm at. I'm at that point. It's like I have
Yeah,
all this stuff where it's like if I can't display it, why do I even have it?
I still got to put up my win raider from Masters, and I have no idea. I was told I'm not allowed to buy any more shelves, but I think I'm going to move my DVD rack upstairs one of these days, and then all of
There
a
you go.
sudden, there's going to be another bookcase
So
in my room.
the line that was probably the biggest for me and probably a lot of people is the Power of the Force Star Wars.
See,
I had I still have everything and it is valueless. I
yeah,
cannot give it away.
that's the number one.
Literally, I had a garage sale where you go to a garage sale and it's like the stuff's not organized. Okay,
Yeah,
no. I had a garage sale where I had all the vehicles re-put in their boxes for $5 a piece to $10 a piece depending on size.
really?
Yeah, like I'm talking the X-Wing was 5. The
I would have
tie
bought
was
that.
5. The Falcon was 10.
I would have
My
bundled.
AT-AT was 10.
I would have bundled.
I had all the figures bagged without accessories because I'm not doing that. I'm
Yeah,
not putting those accessories back. But I had all the figures bagged and I had them in containers that pertain to the movie that they were from.
and somebody was like, "Nope."
And I was asking
What were you yeah,
250 a piece,
that's not bad without it.
or you could get 5 for $10.
That's not bad. And
I
nobody.
didn't sell any.
Well, it's funny when you mentioned the power of the force things because that was like where's the one toy store that's closer to me? Empire Toys.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go in there and I'll look around. And of course, my kids, when they were actually playing with toys, like, can I get something? And I'm like, there's nothing in here. Then all of a sudden you turn the corner because every vintage toy store
Yep.
has the power of the force just chilling there. And they're like $5 a figure. And I'm like, yeah, get
That's
one
what
of
they
these.
were in the 90s,
Get one of
which
these.
is like it's remarkable to me how many of those they actually made. Like they were just churning that. I remember going to Walmart and they literally had a 20-foot gondola
Of
that was just Star Wars. That's all it was.
I
I remember going to the Walmart in Amherst for all you Western New Yorkers, but they literally had it was, and it wasn't like in the toy section. It was like prime real estate, middle of the store. Like the 90s were good. Clinton was getting that economy going. People had money to burn. Everyone thought they'd be buying Star Wars figures to pay for their kids' college tuition because the figures from the 70s were worth so much money because nobody bought them to collect. They bought them to play with them
yep.
and they were thrown away, so there was a lower demand. So everybody was buying these things, stockpiling them away. Yeah, like I literally, I'm at the point where I think I'm like, I asked Matt, I'm like, if you want any, just let me know. I'll give them to you because they're like taking up so much room in my basement, and I can't even like look at my father because he's just like those Star Wars figures that you spent all that money on. What do you sell them or? Like I can't bring myself to be like, no, Dad, they're worthless. I could probably just melt them down and it'd be about the same value. They're completely worthless. Nobody wants them. Everyone has them.
See, if my brother would have kept his Star Wars figures, he probably could have bought a very nice house and a very nice car with what
Yeah,
he had.
yeah. And these are like they're just but they were everywhere. They were huge.
I
Like
I
they
had
were
I had a couple, and then I think that was ending my toy phase and going into the starting lineup era there.
okay. Yeah, Star Wars was
Oh
huge. Like I had to get every single one. Saying like that's where the sickness is. Like I have a Han Solo in Carbonite. Yeah, but this one has a red
yeah,
stain on his shirt and his hair is slicked back because it's when
it-
he got freed from the Carbonite. So I need to buy this Jabba the Hutt cardboard playset to make sure I get that Han Solo too.
see, that's where the parents needed to come into play, where it was like, hey, can I
Well,
get this
because
one?
when
And they were
Star
like, no,
Wars
don't you have a Han Solo?
well, that's when you lie. And my dad didn't know anything about Star Wars, so I could just be like, no, I don't have this one.
Really? You didn't know? Like,
No, my dad's not a sci-fi guy at all. Didn't know. You know, he's like, oh, it's Star Wars.
he didn't go see it or anything? Like, even my parents were.
Not willingly. He's the guy who will
This
go,
is the
what's a
man.
hey, what's a Star Wars? What's that movie about? What did Reagan? They made a movie about what Reagan wanted to do.
I
What
was
is
gonna
that?
say, this is the guy where you were taken to the hospital and then where you were bleeding to
Yeah.
death, and then asked you if you finished mowing the lawn.
Yep, that's the guy.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah,
okay,
that's the guy.
now I get it. Now I get
What do you mean you only did the backyard?
it. Well, you better get discharged because you're burning daylight, right?
Yeah, yeah. The grass is going to look uneven. The neighbors are going to think something's weird.
I
You better
wanted
get out there.
when Johnny and I were doing stuff for Patreon, I wanted to do something like that and call it 80s Dad,
Yeah.
where he would just be like, say something, and I would just be completely insensitive to him about every little thing.
And they
Give
don't
him
mean it. They're not doing it maliciously. That's just
no,
the way that they were. That's the way they were.
no,
But yeah, like I'm at the point where I'm gonna go to the Salvation Army and just go, here you go,
just drop
and
it.
like yeah, and be like, yeah, can I get a receipt? What are they valued at? $5,000.
There's gonna be somebody that's just gonna buy them from the Salvation Army.
Oh yeah, like they like if they price them the same price that they did at the Salvation Army that I had them for my garage sale, they'll go.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
it's just I think what no, that was the Hasbro's. That was the Hasbro era. The power.
Hasbro in no, it was Kenner, and then it transitioned to Hasbro right before Episode One. So like the first couple waves, the 90, because I think they launched in like 95.
Yeah, but
Right, like it was 95 was when they first came out, and then there was the hype of the special edition movies, and they were Kenner till about 90, end of 98. And then I think that's when Kenner sold to Hasbro. And they kind of kept them the same for the most part, but there was a huge shift
oh,
once they went to episode one.
uh, 91.
Is when that happened, huh?
It says
Wow. But
parent
I've
company of Kenner was 91 to 2000, and then they just dissolved Kenner. It looks
okay.
wow, I didn't think it was that.
Because I remember they started changing because it always would say Kenner on the packaging, and then it was like right before the prequel movies came out, they took the Kenner off and then they just put Hasbro with the smiley face.
We should do an episode on Kenner. There's some
Kenner's great toy company, Little Cincinnati, Ohio.
what? I know we were driving to Texas going through Cincinnati. I was like, oh my goodness, I want to see the Kroger building.
Yeah,
Is that the Kroger building? I was like, why do you need to see this Kroger building? I was like, because that's where Kenner was. And she's like, what is Kenner? And I was like, it's a toy company. It
oh, you
needs
didn't hit her?
wars, superpowers. Yeah. And then she called me a dork and kept on
Yeah.
driving. That's kind of how our whole relationship is because she was going to talk about collecting and having a sickness. So I was trying to find shoes, but I went out way too early because as I'm getting older, I realized that not every place opens at 9 o'clock on a Sunday.
Oh
'Cause
no.
I wanted to go to Foot Locker and they open at 11. So I was like, oh, well,
Yeah,
there's
there's no one at Foot Locker who even gets up before 9 a.m.
probably, I was, I sat in the parking lot. I was
Yeah,
that guy.
yeah.
I was that guy. And then I was really mad because there was some guy standing there with his kid and the guy just talked on the phone and completely ignored his kid. I'm like, don't you want to like hang out with your kid?
What's that? People
Yeah,
don't do that.
like get off your phone. Like
Nope.
talk to
My
your kid.
favorite is when I'd go to the playground with my kids and I'd be playing with them on the
Oh,
playground as one does. And
yeah.
then you get that random scruffy kid who's like, "Can I play with you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And then I look over and their parents sitting on the bench on their phone. And whatever, if we're playing like tag, I'm okay with that. But I
Yeah.
remember like the one time I'm pushing my kid on the swing, and then this random kid gets in the swing. Hey, push me! I go, no, I
Yeah.
don't know you, and I'm not touching you. If you want to get pushed on a swing, you have a parent, go get him.
Yeah. I don't,
I will push my child, and I don't even like pushing my child on the swing. I sure as shit ain't pushing you.
I don't, I stopped kind of messing with kids like when they would come up to me and do that because I don't know what the parents were like.
Yeah, exactly. They could literally get mad at you just because you're engaging with their child, which I get, but then like
But
pay attention to your freaking kid.
yeah, like get off,
Get off your
like,
phone.
yeah, just
Yeah.
go around,
Hey,
run
there's a
with the
thing
kid.
called the world around you. It's got some fresh air, some grass.
Oh, see,
Touch some grass, folks.
I miss a good park trip.
Yeah.
Now,
Now, do you feel the same way about collecting? Speaking of touching grass,
yeah,
like the hunt at the Targets, the Kmart's, which
I
are
like
gone.
it.
The what? But the hunt is hard. Like
It's
it's
not as
not the same.
it's not as fun as when I was doing. So my last probably heyday hunt was like the starting lineups.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you get something crazy like, hey, I still remember my brother because I was too young to do it myself. My brother was like, hey, Hills is getting starting lineups. We got to get there. And where we would stand in line to get a number. And you couldn't get a lineup. You couldn't get
Yeah.
any lineup unless you got a number. And they let us. I got my number, and then he had to go to work, but he gave me money to get the starting lineups because we were kind of like collecting them together. Or maybe I did something for him where I didn't tell my mom on him or something crazy like that. A lot of blackmail between my brother and I.
That's how
Uh,
you do.
so they let us through the hills. If anybody remembers Hills, Niagara
That's where the
Falls,
toys are.
yeah, let us through there. Okay, and I am a 14, 15-year-old with a bunch of like 30 to 20 to 30-year-olds. So I'm very
Yep.
out of place. But I got my number and they led us to the back where layaway. And they were like, these are the ones that we have. And of course, there's all these guys around, and they're like, which ones do you want? And I got like a Frank Wright and a Kevin Green. And my brother was like, you waited in line all day to get a Frank Wright and a Kevin Green. I was like, that's all they had. And I was like freaking out because
Was it Pittsburgh Kevin Green or Panthers Kevin Green?
it was Pittsburgh Kevin. This was 95, 96. So this is like Panthers. So it was Pittsburgh Kevin Green and Panthers Frank Wright.
I had a Panthers Kevin Green.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
it was Steelers. I
Yeah.
remember that because it was like 95, 96. So
Do you ever remember so that's the fine line is like now, especially now with everything on the internet, like
yeah,
I feel like there was the thrill of the hunt back then,
yeah,
but there was no like I feel like there was less FOMO because it's like, oh, I went out to get it. They didn't have it. Oh well.
yeah.
Like, yeah, you'd go to a couple stores, but if you didn't get it, you didn't get it, and you didn't like beat yourself up over it. Now that's like, well, I didn't get it, so now I can just go online and order it
But it's not as fun.
because it's not gratifying. You don't get that
No,
gratification of like hitting the button.
I miss hiding stuff at Toys R Us. I'm not gonna,
Yeah,
dude, I'm not gonna lie. The
there
hiding
were
where
times where I would hide stuff, but I think that was just more so like I would hide it because I didn't have money for it. But now it's like I have the money, so I don't need to
yeah,
hide it.
yeah.
But I
See,
do miss the hiding. Yeah.
I
You'd
miss
stash it back there and then yeah, you try to
it,
go back at another date and see if you could refind it.
yeah, like I would try and like do the good old throw into overstock
Yep.
or anything like that. And then I realized how kind of worthless that was when I worked at Toys R Us. And
Did you kind of going back to your story with the numbers and the starting lineups, was there ever a time in your childhood? Now this is going to be a two-part question. I'll
okay,
ask the first one and then I'll elaborate. Was there ever a time in your childhood where you were talked down to or tried to be tricked by an adult to give up a toy that you had found and you were holding on to?
no, because I was always with my father or my brother. So
So, when I was a child, I remember this vividly. We were at the Boulevard Mall, KB Toys, going
okay,
through the 3 for 10 dig bin,
that's a good bin.
and it was a bunch of Marvel Toy Biz. And I found the Deadpool with the little
Yeah,
sword that you'd push in. And I didn't even know who Deadpool was. I just thought he looked cool.
so you just
Yeah, I'm like, this guy looks cool. Like, who is this? I don't know. And this guy, he was probably in college, either late high school or college. And he's like, "Oh, Deadpool. Hey, man, you don't want that, man. He's a little above your age range." I'm like, "Well, I don't know who he is. I just think he looks cool." Well, then why don't you just let me? Well, I'll take him, and then you we get like a Spider-Man or something. I'm like, "But I already have a Spider-Man. He kind of looks cool." And then the girl he was with she's like, "Will you leave him alone? He's a child.
yeah.
That's the toy he wants. What are you doing?" Like she just totally just shamed him, and then he like tail between his legs walked away. I did buy that Deadpool. It was a
I
pretty
was
cool
gonna say,
toy. I think I painted him black with shoe polish, or not shoe polish, with nail polish at one point
oh,
because I wanted a black ninja, all black ninja. Um,
but
and then second part question: as an adult collector, has there ever been a time where you tried to finagle a toy
I
away from a
haven't
child?
finagled, but I've watched. I'm not gonna say. I'm almost shocked Chris Hansen didn't come out because I was like, it was one of those things where I'd, go to Walmart and I'd be with my kids, and all of a sudden this kid would just ran. They're lower than us.
Yeah.
So, a kid would see like a vehicle, like when they were reissuing GI Joes, and he picked up like this. It wasn't a hiss. I forgot which vehicle it was. It was a Joe vehicle, and could have been like the last one, and I just like watched. I watched him, and then out of nowhere, his dad came, and he showed it to his dad, and then his dad's eyes lit up, and I was like, "Damn,
He knows.
I'm done. done. But I watched this little kid.
Yeah.
He's probably
I've been at
7
that point numerous times.
All right, it's bad, but I've watched the kid just like look at it, and I'm like, oh, come
Yeah.
on, be a shitty
So
parent and tell your kid no. Be a shitty.
so there was one time, again, Walmart in Amherst. I went and I was searching for Marvel Legends. I think it was like Wave 5, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Now, it was Marvel Legends at the time, they had like chase variants
Oh, so
where they would do like a different variation of a character, but it was like a rarer, lesser
yeah.
thing, right? And then they started doing it where they would put like a whole different character in the set that was like super rare. Like it wasn't in every set. It was
Oh,
just like an additional figure. And I want to say it was series 5. They made like a Red Skull in his like army outfit, like a traditional Red Skull.
yeah.
And all the other Red Skulls that they had made were like in his exosuit or something like that, more modern version. And I remember going down the toy aisle and they had a huge Marvel Legends selection. I'm going through and I'm going through and I'm sitting there with like an 8-year-old kid. He's like there, like 7 or 8. And all
Oh,
of a sudden I see him and he grabs and it's a Red Skull. And I'm just looking at it and I go, holy shit, that's the Red Skull. And then I remember the kids looking at him like, hey, what do you got there? It's like, oh, it's this guy. I go, oh, he's kind of lame looking. He's kind of puny. Like, don't you want like a Wolverine or something? And the kid looks at me and he goes, of course not. This is the rare one. These are hard to find. The kid friggin' knew.
oh,
And I'm like, oh, he's got me. He's like, I'm not going to give this one up. These are super hard to find. And then he just walked away. I'm like, yep, that kid owned me. Good for him.
yeah. Ge- Damn,
Kudos on him. He knew what he was doing.
damn kids. No, but
Yeah.
the toy hunt
I'm
was
not gonna lie, I did follow him to make sure that he checked out and he didn't just like put it in the women's blouse selection.
oh, like, hey mom, can I get this? And she's
Yeah,
like,
and then she
"Oh,
turns
not
him
today."
down. No, I followed him to make sure
See?
that the
Okay.
transaction went all the way through. I was
Did that card decline?
no,
You're 1 cent off, guy.
it was approved. I was very upset.
Nope, nobody's got a penny for you.
Kid pulled out his Velcro wallet and everything. He was a baller. He
I
paid for
miss
that on his own.
I miss those days of pulling out my Ninja Turtle Velcro
Yeah.
wallet
You hear that ripping?
out of my Ninja Turtle fanny pack.
Yeah, those are the
That's how
days,
bad.
man. Those are the
That's how,
days.
that's how bad my. But our toy hunting was. My mom didn't do that. My mom. Oh, well, she did Christmas time, but she did it in secrecy. One of her greatest stories is you could find it probably in the archives when this podcast was under a different one. I think it's like my second or third episode I did with my mom, and she talks about standing in line at once again Hills. She's big fan of the Hills there.
Hills was that was the
That
place,
was it. They
man.
had a really good toy section,
They did.
and she had a talking Pee Wee Herman, and all she could think about was she just got off of work from her second job, and she's standing in line at Hills with a talking Pee Wee Herman, thinking about how much this thing is going to annoy her, and that she's worked so hard just to get this, just to listen to this thing annoy her. That's
That's a mother's love right there.
yep. That was a good Christmas. We got all the Brave Star stuff too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward when we revisit some Brave Star.
Yeah,
I
because
know of it, but don't know a whole lot about it.
oh, it was a good show. It
It
was
looks like it's up my alley. I've been getting into westerns lately, so it'll be kind of like what I originally loved versus what I'm starting to get into.
this is the last great filmation cartoon.
Okay.
So that's
Then it
where
was all Deke.
yeah.
A whole lot of Deke.
That's where I'll be and Johnny are the same age, and he has no recollection of half of the things that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. But
Yeah. But yeah, I almost looking for stuff. Well, like my dad parents were divorced. My dad on the weekends, that's what we would do. Uh Toys R Us, flea markets,
man, I miss me some Toys R Us.
Walmart, and we would toy hunt for the Toy Biz, Batman figures. I remember when he was gonna like, I wouldn't say he was gonna like fight him, but he was getting pissed off at the Canadians at Toys R Us because
Oh yeah.
they were taking all the Batman Returns, the robins and the penguins,
Yep.
or Catwomen or Catwoman, women, Catwoman, but women because of how many there were. But those were short. Those were short change there, and they were taking them like all. And he was,
Yeah. That's why for Christmas I got those stupid missile firing penguins.
oh yeah, I forgot that's a sore subject for you.
Thanks, Dad. You really tried.
That's right up there with the Matt Cardona story about where he thought he got the 1, 2, 3 kid, and it was just the Jimmy Hart
Yeah.
original San Francisco toy makers. That's how.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
I'm like, these freaking penguins, what the heck?
That's my only one with that is I wanted a Megazord, and I was winding down from GI Joe, but I regret this because the thing was awesome. My dad didn't give me a Megazord, but he did get me this giant Star Brigade GI Joe robot. And I was like, oh, it's not the Megazord. But then looking back on it, the robot was way better than the Megazord.
That's probably the conclusion he came to. He used some
Yeah,
rational thought and he goes, which one's better? I
like
know
this,
that's what he wants, but this one's better.
like this one shot missiles and had
Yeah.
like a claw that could actually pick up a Joe and everything else. But yeah, that was pretty much that. Then my brother worked at Toys R Us too, so he would hide stuff. I worked at Toys R Us.
Now, when you worked at Toys R Us, how strict were they on like what you bought?
Didn't care.
They
I was
didn't?
I was morning stalker, so I did it part time. It was kind of like my job after I got out of high school. I worked at Burger King and then I quit Burger King to go work seasonal at Toys R Us. And I was kind of like hoping I don't think anybody really said anything to me.
See, I always thought like I never worked there. I always wanted to. Wish I did. But I feel like with my luck, I would have gotten the job thinking to myself, this will be great. I'll stock the action figures. I'll be able to cherry pick. It's going to be fantastic. And then like, oh, you're on the baby formula aisle. We need you to stock the baby formula.
I gotta say, I was kind of like the odd man out because I think everybody kind of knew each other or
Yeah.
everybody got a job. Like the other seasonal person that was with me, he got a job because he knew somebody else that worked there.
Hmm.
So, but they would always kind of when it came to stocking, they kind of put you in an area that you knew, so that way when the store opened, you could kind of be in that area.
Okay.
So I did a lot of. I think every once in a while I did. What are those stupid? Uh, was it Fisher Price Play School? Those
Little people.
no, they were like supposed to be like your introductory action figure in the late 90s.
Playmobil.
No, it was there was like a firefighter, a police officer. They were bulky dudes. My little cousin played with them all the time.
Drawing a blank.
I can't remember what they were called. But it was like a firefighter, construction worker type stuff.
Okay.
They were really good toys because he got the fire truck for Christmas and that thing like had like these water shaped missiles and it would just you could just blast them across the room. But yeah, I think that was probably the worst area I stocked. There was one guy. Okay, this guy was my hero. Like I wanted to be him. He got to do the video games and
Yeah,
go.
I would not have. I would have not have cared for that because you just sit behind a counter, you grab the little sticker sheet, right? Was he the
Yeah,
counter guy?
he was the counter guy.
Counter guy.
You get your ticket.
That's too much power. It's too much
Oh,
power for me.
and he controlled the radio.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
He's a
So
god amongst men. Not
yeah.
even men. He's a god amongst ants.
So he not only got to sit behind this counter and he sat behind that counter and he did the video games, but he controlled the radio. Not even the supervisor controlled the radio. He controlled the radio. He had the power as as
But did
Glenn
he?
had
But did he have the touch?
uh
He
yes.
had the power, but did
When
he
it
have
came
the
to
touch?
music, he did.
He had the
Because
touch,
he played
and
some
he had the power.
yeah, he was the complete package.
Man,
Yeah.
that was your Transformers reference. I did
Yes.
that just for you, Edward.
Thank you. That's another thing too. Like when Johnny was telling me about his Optimus Prime that he got, I was like, that's like the second version. That was when he was plastic. Why would you? We had metal Optimus Prime.
I remember my one buddy, he got a one of the anniversary editions of the Optimus Prime figure. Like I think it came out like mid
2000.
2010s.
Oh, okay, because there was one when I was working at
It
Toys
was
R Us that they came out with too.
it was like 2010s. It was kind of in like a flat back, but like almost like a hexagonal front packaging with a bubble.
Oh, it wasn't in like the original old school pack.
No, no,
Oh,
it
okay.
was new packaging. So he had it in the box, and I remember we had a couple beverages one night, and I was just like, "Well, you got a transformer over there in the package?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, let's bust them out and play with them. He goes, "No, it's worth money." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you can't even transform him. He's called a transformer, and he's stuck in his robot mode. You're depriving him the ability to do what God intended him to do and transform into the truck or the car, whatever it is. You're a monster." You're a monster. You're depriving that poor Transformer of his God-given ability and right to transform. So, long story short, I just opened it when he went to the bathroom and he was really
Oh,
mad.
see, I'm very open box with everything.
uh
You got anything in the
I'm
package?
I do. Currently I was a big stickler on the Star Wars vintage collection.
Okay.
I had like the main characters. I have sold all those off. I did
I was
get rid
gonna
of
say,
them.
was that even kind of worth it?
Some of them, yes. Some of them were, I got pretty, I think I sold them and I did like my whole collection, which was probably like, I think it was like 60 figures all in all. Um, and I think I got like $400 store credit and $300 cash.
That's not bad.
No, I kept two. The only two I kept were, my main man Lando and my sweet, sweet Cara Dune.
Do you do the artisan ones? Like I watch Retro Blasting and there's a lot of cool like ones where the guy's just like pirate. I don't even know. He calls them artisan, but it just seems like it's
Oh, where he's making new figures in the style of the vintage?
yeah, who is it? Stan Solo and
Yeah, no, I don't. The only thing that I have similar to that I keep on card are the Sesame Street Super Sevens.
okay.
I have those actually in the room I'm currently sitting in. I have the whole
I
collection,
see
all three
one up in the
waves.
corner over there.
Yeah, and I put those on like the blister packs, and I just kind of have those hung up because I think those are kind of neat, and I like the artwork on them. But other than that, I've really gotten away from like the inbox stuff. Um,
I want to
except for those turtles that I mentioned earlier.
yeah, I want
But
to
I mean, I have those loose, and I honestly like those more just for the card back artwork than
yeah.
anything else because I that's like that brick wall, and they actually took the time to make different artwork for each figure that coincided with the figure. Like they
Dude, who
don't do
else
that
kind of
anymore.
has
They just generic card back and
I wonder who
one size fits all.
kind of has a brick wall in the back with rocks exploding.
Yeah.
Little
So,
masters of the universe there.
oh, I honestly, I don't think I've ever bought any Masters of the Universe
I
ever.
I
I
don't
came close
there's
to
no
that Dolph Lundgren one they made a couple years back. Mattel. They made like the Dolph Lundgren version.
see when it came to He-Man, I don't think I would even have touched any of it really if it wasn't for the toys that made us. I don't know what it was, but it was Christmas Eve and I was trying to get my kids to sleep and the toys that made us I think it just premiered that year or something. And I watched the Star Wars one and I'm like, okay, I played with all that a lot of the Star Wars vintage stuff because of my brother, but there
Yeah,
was no connection there. Like by the time I got it, the Millennium Falcon was looking pretty dingy.
yeah,
Uh, but then all of a sudden I skipped over the Barbie episode and then I got to He-Man and I was like, oh, this is cool. And all of a sudden I start watching it. It was like the weirdest feeling where it was like I really felt like a kid again. Like I was like, oh my goodness. I just remember having all these masters of the universe, playing with the evil horde, the snake men, uh the horde the horde, evil horde pit with the nasty. I don't know if you've ever seen the puppet for it. It's like this
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
latex puppet and
yeah.
like burn your hand as you put it on almost. The slime pit, like Snake Mountain, Castle Grayskull, and it was just like all these great things. And I think that's the only reason why I collect them is because I watched the Toys That Made Us, and I was like, this is like I just remember loving this toy line. And
Yeah, and I feel like that's Turtles was similar, like the all-encompassing world building that those toy lines offered.
yeah,
Like not just the figures, but like the play sets and the vehicles and the tie-in stuff, like where you get all that stuff and you could, you could make your own stories, you could be your own director. Like that's where that stuff was really cool, and that's why I think toys are fading out because like they don't toy
they
lines
don't.
don't last that long to do all that stuff. Stores don't want to carry the shelf space for the
Well,
the, the toy lines and the play sets, and
you can't make a 30-minute cartoon anymore or 30
that's
minute
true.
commercial anymore.
No, it's got to be 5 seconds of somebody jiggling and jangling, and
Yeah,
then they make billions of dollars off that.
it's got to be educational and it's got to have so much time or it's which that's why I don't understand. I'm gonna get into a little rant here. I get into this rant all the time when I think about this. Is they didn't want it to influence us with those. They
Yeah,
want the toy line to be made. Then they're like, okay, let's make a cartoon with a backstory. So they want to buy the toy line more because now they know the story. Blah blah blah. And they would say influence. Now there's a whole job title of
yeah.
influencer
Hmm.
that hey, and what do they want you to do? Like every time I watched a YouTube video with my kids, like when they were younger, what was his name? Unspeakable and Dan TDM, they talk
Yeah,
about buy my merch.
yeah.
My merch. Buy my and I understand that's on YouTube and not on regular TV, but why is that okay? But not some good imagination where you have great memories with an action figure and
The downfall of civilization is that's your answer.
okay.
It's the downfall of civilization.
Like I don't understand it. Like those that was stuff that I watched
Yeah.
and and
And they actually had some thought process. And not only that, like all the people that were employed by the idea of Masters of the Universe,
yeah,
your writers, your animators, your TV executives, your ad campaigns, your art, artists that were hired to create the packaging, to create the toys
mhm,
themselves.
the
Like
sculptors and everything.
exactly, like all those people were employed because of a kids' cartoon to sell toys. Who cares? At least they put more effort into the cartoon than these people that just go, "Hey, look at me! I'm Mr. Beast. Well,
Yeah.
buy this. What am I gonna do? I'm Mr.
I'm gonna
Beast."
give this guy random 10 grand
Yeah.
just for doing nothing. You know what?
Hey, what if I punch you in the tummy and I give you $5,000
Yeah.
and you kiss me on the cheek? I'm Mr. Beast.
You know what He-Man did? He saved Eternia
He sure
numerous of
did.
times. And then he taught you a lesson like don't do drugs and gave you the moral of the story of the episode. Did it all
Yeah.
match? No.
No, but at
Uh,
least the thought was there.
G.I. Joe, I still think that was some subliminal messaging to get me to join the Marines at some point because all of a sudden that was
Yeah,
my
I would
favorite
have
toy
to say
line.
that they had to get a lot of people sign up because of GI Joe.
I know I did, and that was my favorite toy line growing up.
Yeah.
Was G.I. Joe. That was the one.
Now, why did you join them? Why didn't you reach out to Cobra?
Uh, they weren't hiring. I tried to
No?
reach out to Tomax and Zaymont because they had all the money for the
Yeah.
guard, and they weren't hiring. And then Destro. There's
I tried to open up a sewer to go down in there. I was very disappointed when I finally was able to look into a sewer. I go, there's very little room to walk around down there.
yeah.
It's
It,
all a lie. It's all just little pipes.
did you ever yell in a sewer as a kid asking
Oh
someone?
yeah, I asked,
For-
hey,
Okay.
are you guys down there? Hey, turtles.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd put food down there because I knew they were waiting for it. And I didn't want to get charged extra for late pizza.
Yeah, I used to yell down the sewers for the turtles. And I wanted to see a ghost so I could bust them.
Yeah, because
Because
busting makes me feel good.
yeah, I knew that was coming.
Oh, way to sneak that in.
I want to get those Ghostbusters too, but I
Oh
can't
yeah, they're
pull the
so
trigger on
expensive.
them.
They are super cool though.
They're
Yeah, you got to draw the line somewhere. That's what I would. The word of advice from a lifetime collector: you gotta zone in. I think there's always a point where you really branch out and you're collecting a little bit of everything. But I find that that's the kind of stuff you're gonna sell, and then you got to really just zone in on one or two properties or one or two pieces that really bring you joy and happiness, and
yeah.
try not to have it consume your life where it's like, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get that, I gotta get this. There's only so much time in the day and only so many things that you can put up on display, you know?
Well, I almost bought a whole Voltron. They had the 40th anniversary
I've
Voltron
seen those at
at the
Target. You have
at
to buy
Target.
each horse or each
But
lion differently.
you had to do that as we had
Yeah.
it as a kid, and we had to do
Yeah.
that.
So
And I was I was looking, and I was like, wait, $20 a lion for the smaller ones? Not bad.
yeah,
$40 for the black lion? Not bad. Started thumbing through. I'm like, oh, there's some lions. And I'm like, okay, blue, yellow, red. No green.
that's what I
I'm
was.
not buying it.
So
But
I was
then
conflicted.
we went to another Target that day later on because I think we were just out and the wife needed something, so we stopped at Target and guess what that Target had? Only
All
one,
of them. Only
no,
one.
only one lion, and it was the damn green lion.
See, that was the exact reason I bought Ernie without Bert because I know there's going to be some day down the line where I walk in and they're just going to have Bert, and I'm like, dang it, I should have got that Ernie.
See, I don't go to Target that much though, so that's my.
I literally just go for the NECA stuff. If
I
it
go
wasn't for them having an exclusivity deal with NECA, I probably would never go.
I go to that's on the nerd wall. I call it the nerd wall.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, totally is.
It- I always go. I'm going to the nerd. I always go to the nerd wall, and I go to toys.
Yep,
That's it.
I go in that order as well.
And I now the two bop study is a peg warmer at Target.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I gotta buy this right now.
Yeah,
I haven't
now
seen
he's
it too.
everywhere. You're probably going to find it for $5 in a month or two.
Oh, better.
Super deep discount clearance. Well, yeah,
So
that's another battle of the collector. Like, figuring out when to pull the trigger. Should you pay full price or should you just wait a little bit? And it's always that, it goes both ways. You wait and then you never get it, or
yeah,
you get it and then like 6 months to a year later, you could have paid a third of the price and gotten it.
yeah. Like I always wanted, I just wanted an MJF, and I was like, I'm not paying $20.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got some money here.
I
No,
think
I'm
you
not
could get
paying
them on
20.
Ringside for like $3.99 during the
I
holiday
bought them at
sale.
Walmart for $4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So deal.
that was like the Rock lineage pack where it's like High Chief P of Maivia, Rocky
And
Johnson.
Soul Man, yeah.
It they wanted $70, and then all of a sudden I went to Target the one day and it was like $10. I was like, if that package wasn't so big, that would be going to Matt right now. I was like, if that package wasn't so big, and if I lived in New York, it would be going to Matt right now without even a question. And
Sometimes I refuse to go to there's a discount store up here called Ollie's.
oh
And
yeah,
sometimes I don't want to go there because they have so many toys for like super deep discount where I'm like,
yeah.
I bought that at full price. I bought that at full price. Oh, dang it.
I went to an alley just recently, and they still had what is it what is that Marvel movie? The
Eternals.
no, before the Eternals, was it the Ten Rings one?
Oh, Shang-Chi.
Yeah, they still had some of those
Yep.
toys there. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah. They
yeah,
still have Black Panther toys. They got everything.
just mass produced, and
For sure. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
It's
think
just too
any kids
much.
really want that stuff.
I don't think so either.
If it's not a
So
video
we
game,
will
I'm
see
not
how
gonna.
long I feel like the toy market will dry up once you and I are old and curmudgeon, like just like Lionel trains. Once
Yes,
our generation reaches the nodding off point, I feel that toys will lose a lot of their value because the people that will be seeking them will no longer be among the living, and
you know,
we'll grace the earth with the most fun landfill in the history of the human race.
Like the ET landfill.
Better.
I
Because
think
we'll have it floating maybe in space.
kids are gonna want like their first cell phone. I think that's gonna be the big thing.
Yeah.
Or like I have this vintage iPad, first generation.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. So
It's not gonna be cool.
nope.
I went through a bad phase where I was trying to collect every Madden for PS2, but I ended that real quick too.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with our collecting talk today.
yeah.
So
Talk me down. I think I might try and get off some of these bids.
hey man, you do you.
Ah,
No
I just,
judgment for me. I've been down that rabbit hole many a time.
but I think a lot of this stuff is going to get sniped in the last minute. So that's what happened to what did I lose out on yesterday? Oh,
Was
my
it?
original when I went for the Rockers.
Oh, okay.
They got sniped out pretty quick, like last second type deal. So
Oh, you got to get that Genetti.
I love the Rockers. Like I was so mad that I
When
didn't
that top rope snapped.
know when they had that brief Rockers reunion. I wasn't there to like watch it live. I had like watched
Oh, yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
Like I
Well,
didn't.
Marty shouldn't have got drunk to celebrate. That's like the Edward Furlong. It's like they signed him on for Terminator 3 just as long as he stayed clean, and then he got drunk to celebrate and he got arrested. And
Yeah, I
there you
didn't
go.
know that.
Talk about counting your chickens before they hatch. Marty Jannetty did the same thing. They were going to give him a contract. He got drunk to celebrate, and then nope, you're done.
It's
Got arrested.
what do you call himself? Oh, Gat on Dark Side.
God, what is it? God's.
God's amusement toy.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And then Al Snow popped up and goes, Marty can't take responsibility for himself.
For anything. Nope. Nothing at all.
God,
Nothing at all.
God
Nothing
bless
at
you,
all.
Al Snow. Where are we in this world without Al Snow?
Ugh.
But that is it. That is our collecting talk. Uh, Johnny should be back next week. We've postponed Muse for one more week. And hopefully we can get this game off going
Yeah.
on next
So
week.
is next week going to be Muse?
No, next week is going to be the game. We
Okay, good.
postponed
I'm
Muse.
feeling healthy now. Okay. I
Looking,
got a little sick there just for a couple seconds when I heard Muse that, postponed all week.
I,
2 weeks, right?
yeah, I have to
Okay.
give it to Johnny because I've made him listen to Simpson Sings the Blues
Well,
and
that's good.
Shaq Diesel.
That's even better.
See, but he
That's
doesn't
good
pick them.
stuff.
He's a musical snob.
Yeah.
But with that being said, what may not be nostalgia for you may be nostalgia for some.